Welcome back. This is Nick Tasteless Plot broadcasting to you from Seoul, Korea at the GOM TV Averatec-Intel Classic. We just saw some awesome games back there between Cassie and Raid, Terran versus Zerg. Wow, they were pretty crazy. The first game, I think Raid's build was great. He did his 3-hatch opening where the 3rd hatchery was actually hidden in the main north of the map. Meanwhile, Cassie was, of course, at the south. And in case you didn't notice, Cassie just did such a great job of controlling his medic marine at the end. He just came out on top. It seemed as though Raid was too dependent on counterattacks, and Cassie was confident enough that he just marched in there and then just completely out-controlled him. Wow, just really great games. The second game, Cassie walled himself in with a depot. I was thinking about it using my bathroom break about that depot on. Sometimes you see Terran players not let the depot finish. And then they cancel it and go into a fast expand build. Although, I guess he might have attempted, and I could be wrong, I'm not sure. But I think I may have given some incorrect analysis after second reflection. I think maybe he walled himself in with the depot and then put only 2 Marines in the front to possibly make it look like he was teching to 2-port Wraith. Or possibly some type of Vulture rush or something. Something that's pretty non-standard, but also... something that would confuse the Zerg, essentially, so that they would not have made sunken colonies and instead would have teched very quickly to a layer. So that could also be one of the reasons behind that. I'm actually going to try to ask Cassie exactly, but I think that could have been the reason why he walled in, because right off the bat I was like, oh my gosh, he walled himself in. Now, the next matchup is going to be 8-15 and FanTastic, a Zerg player and a Protoss player. You may not be as familiar with these players, but these are actually 2 very strong players. A lot of the Koreans have been saying that this might be one of the most exciting and even matches in the tournament. 8-15, getting his name from the famous StarCraft map called 8-15. And that was it was a pretty weird map, a map that was very difficult to figure out and made for a lot of interesting games. And here's FanTastic toss. And he is again, as I said before, he's not a very, very seasoned pro gamer, but a lot of people are saying that even though he's new, he's very strong, and I think this matchup is going to be really interesting. Again, the first map is on Katrina. Here we see the 2 players head-to-head, just going over their openings and the strategies they've picked out that they're going to be using this game. We can see the little clan tag at the left side of the screen, the Clan White, a famous Korean West clan. I do not know if our other player has a West clan. There's some more information at the bottom of the screen about the players. Classic. So Terran versus Zerg on Katrina. I think, well, we've already seen a lot of very interesting games. This is a map that's been around long enough. The players have a pretty good idea of exactly what you're supposed to be doing on it. And maybe, the most typical build orders. We're probably going to see fast Mutalists for Zerg. There's, you generally don't see fast Lurkers, although we did see the fast Lurker build full Toss Girl. Toss Girl moving out into the middle of the map and then falling victim to hold position Lurkers. It really shows that while fast Mutalists is more popular, it's not necessarily the only way that you can play it out on this.
배병우 선수가 KTF에 입단한 시기는 2006년 12월, 즉 제가 부임을 하고 그 신인 선수를 키워야 되겠다라는 생각을 할 즈음에 발굴된 선수입니다. 저그 유저로서 새로운 트렌드를 계속 받아들이고 또 자기의 장점들을 갖고 나가고 단점들은 보완하고 이러한 점들이 하루하루 봐서는 뭐 그대로네 이렇게 생각할 수 있지만 일주일 한 달 단위로 보게 되면 많은 차이를 느끼게 하는 선수입니다. 그래서 이번 시즌 이미 벌써 작년에 자기 기량의 눈을 보여줬고 테란 이영호와 마찬가지로 우리 팀의 주전으로서 활약을 예상하고 있습니다. 곰팀 본선에서도 좋은 성적을 낼 것으로 보이고 비록 방송 경기라지만 오히려 방송 경기라서 더 좋은 경기를 보이지 않을까 싶습니다.
안녕하세요. KTF 매지앤스의 저구 유저 배병우입니다. 이번에 한빛의 김인기 선수와 게임을 하게 됐는데 잘하시는 선수라고 들었어요. 그래가지고 제가 맵도 프로리그 맵이랑 겹치니까 프로리그 이렇게 연습하면서 틈틈이 연습해가지고 꼭 이기도록 하겠습니다.
김민기 선수가 좀 고집이 좀 세고 좀 이렇게 내성적인 스타일이라서 말도 많았고 탈도 많았던 선수인데 지금 유용태 선수 다음으로 이제 그 프로토스를 제일 잘하는 걸로 제가 이미 좀 찍어놨고요. 단기전 약한 게 좀 흠이긴 하지만 장기전을 바탕으로 해가지고 이번 봄TV 최소한 8강 정도 가졌으면 하는 제가 큰 바람이 있습니다.
안녕하세요. 인비스타즈 김민규입니다. 이번엔 64강에서 배병호 선수랑 게임을 하게 됐는데요. 배병호 선수 개인전으로 지금 잘 하시는데 만나게 돼서 조금 긴장도 되지만 저도 개인전 준비 열심히 하고 있었기 때문에 자신 있고요. 재밌는 게임 보여드리도록 하겠습니다. 감사합니다.
Is it just me, or does FanTastic Toss just slightly look a little bit like Im Yo-han, also known as Slayer's Boxer? It could prove to be beneficial in the game StarCraft. Again, these players do not have a lot of experience, but bear in mind that they're both very, very, very powerful. I've had more than one person down in this tournament tell me about that when we were talking about the matches beforehand. And here's a shot of 815, the Zerg player. So we're going to have KTF battling it out with Hanbit. This is a TG, it's the TG Sambo Intel Classic up here in Korea. It's the Averatec-Intel Classic. If you are in anywhere else, if you're watching the English screen, I think it's going to be a very exciting game. It's going to be the first game we have with a Protoss for today's matches. We're at the stage where only 64 players remain in the tournament. And once we start to whittle that number down smaller and smaller, we'll start covering every single game. I believe we start doing that at 32. I could be incorrect. I see on my game screen, both players have now joined, both talking to each other. 2008 TG Sambo Intel Classic. StarCraft Universe, welcome to the Korea Ultimate Tournament. Get ready. The game has begun. It appears as though 815's fans are all on the left, and FanTastic Toss's fans are all on the right. Here we see cross spots. Protoss at the far left, Zerg at the far right. Protoss fast expand about 95% of the time on this map. There really aren't many, or there are not too many other builds that work out other than getting the Nexus right away. And it's I think it's very wise to do so because the main expansion is in the back of the base. We did see an interesting game last time, though, where Protoss actually did get a 1-gate and then try to rush in there with Zealots, harassing drones, since Zerg always get their hatchery on 12 on this map. And then, meanwhile, build a Nexus in the back of his base. However, I don't think that's going to happen in this game because the players are in cross spots. That would be probably the most ineffective Zealot rush ever. Pylon at the entrance. A gateway and a forge should completely wall that off. I believe a forge will be on the right, a gateway on the left side. Whoa! KTF Magicians. So hatchery first for the Zerg. This is the most typical build for Zerg. Both players playing by the book. And I'll have to apologize if my voice is a little ripped up today. I have a little bit of a cold. Of course, using that probe for a little bit of harassment on those drones. He wants to delay that spawning pool from getting up. That'll force Zerg to take 2 drones off and then make a spawning pool in 2 different locations. And then whichever one actually gets to build it is the lucky winner of being a spawning pool for the rest of his life. Next is first, and that is the wise decision. Protoss will get a forge if they see the Zerg get a spawning pool. In a sense, both players are allowing the other one to tech up. It's going to become a macro game. Look at that. He's actually going to put the gateway farther out. Here comes a scouting drone. Unfortunately for Zerg, they'll find this expansion, or the main base last. Zerg wants to put an expanding hatchery over here. And indeed, he did manage to get that put down. Zerg are more than likely going to tech to Hydralisks and probably tech to drop. I do see drop used a lot on this map. Once Protoss leaves their base, they drop that expansion in the back, and then Protoss is forced to move back and take care of that. Cybernetics core coming up. We'll probably see a Stargate to get a few Corsairs out there. This scouting probe can't stay alive forever, although fantastic job. Toss has done a fantastic job of keeping that probe alive so far. The longer you keep the probe alive, the better off you are at reading the other player. Both players look pretty calm so far, although their facial expressions normally change as the pace of the game picks up. It's very difficult to stay relaxed in televised matches. I hear that all the time from pro gamers. Four Zerglings. Probe pushes him out of the way, now moving down. Another hatchery, so we're going to see 4 hatches. Now, if the scouting probe can spot that, that'll be very big. We might even see a Citadel instead, rather than a Stargate, but the Stargate's already on the way. Sometimes Protoss players mass up gates and get Zealots with legs with a +1 attack upgrade and then rush out, but instead that's not going to happen. And it looks like, yeah, Protoss spotted that expansion. And I'm sure that's probably a Citadel making. We could see a Robobait too, though. Corsair Reaver isn't all that bad either. Protoss has a lot of options. They usually decide their tech pattern based off what they've spotted so far in the Zerg's base, and we are going to see the pretty standard fast Expo and build of the Stargate and the Citadel, which will be used to get the Zealot legs and, of course, the Templar archives. The probe who wouldn't die. Oh, I think he will now. Oh. So a Hydralisk gen is up too. I don't think we've seen a layer yet, but we'll probably see that up right away. Now I think Protoss is going to get probably about 2 more gateways. And here we see a probe. The probe is still alive. He'll probably send it back to his main. Now that the Corsair is out, he can scout with that instead. So again, pretty standard game so far. Nothing too out of the ordinary, although I will admit, expanding again can be a little bit risky. He might be able to pull it off because he is there in cross spots. The Corsair now checking around, seeing for any stray overlords. Templar archives on the way. Protoss may come out with a +1 attack upgrade. Or he may even wait for the +2. It depends. It doesn't look like Zerg's going to have an evolution chamber up in time to deal with that. If the +1 has in fact started, we'll see the Forge soon enough. Corsair kind of functions like a fast overlord. You can zip around and keep on looking at what the Zerg's doing. The Protoss is entirely dependent on following the Zerg's tech pattern to see when he can attack and where he should attack. That's why the Corsair is so critical. It's not just for harassing overlords. Corsair continuing to move around the map. A few preliminary Hydralisks have been set out so that they can defend the overlords. 815 is going to have to be careful, though. All the Overlords are at that expansion. He could be very vulnerable to DT harassment. One Templar is out, and the Overlord has spotted the gateways. So now he has a better idea of exactly what his opponent's doing. Since it seems like the Zerg is just making drones, it appears FanTastic Toss is going to get an expansion up a little bit earlier than we would expect. Evolution Chamber on the way. I assume +1 attack is being upgraded, though. And here comes the Dark Templar now. He really wanted to see what was going on with those binoculars. I've never seen binoculars at match so small. Here comes a DT, taking out some drones. 3. Oh, and 3 is the lucky number for him. And Overlord speed is just now finished, so the fact that all those Overlords are clumped in that area will not be too bad for him. Another hatchery, so we're probably going to see a lot of low-tier units, a lot of Zerglings and Hydralisks. And the Queen's Nest for the Adrenal upgrade. I wonder if Drop is being upgraded right now while that Queen's Nest is about to finish so that he can get that hive once those 2 upgrades for the Overlords have done. Here comes some Zealots down at the bottom. Meanwhile, Hydralisk moving over here at the expansion. No, Zerglings moving in here now and attacking the sunken colony. It looks like Protoss will do some damage to this expansion. Zerg's going to come in here and regroup with some Hydralisks. Here's some more Hydralisks and Zerglings. The drones have been chased out, but so has the Protoss army. But they're going to regroup. Another Archon could prove to be very helpful. But look, he has no observer, and Lurkers are now burrowing. Here they come. Unfortunately, there's really not much Protoss can do without observers. It would be wise to maybe get a Templar in that army and then walk behind that expansion, which is closer to the middle of the map, and then storm the drones there. Hive is almost done. And the Nexus of the expansion is almost finished, but it looks as though FanTastic Toss sent those probes out a little bit too early. +1 is not done. Because the Zerg is getting so many hatcheries, we're probably going to see a lot of cheaper units like Hydralisks and, Hydralisks and Zerglings. So it's going to come down a lot to how much ahead the Protoss is in upgrades and how good the Protoss is with Psionic Storm. Zerg may just be slightly behind Protoss the entire time with upgrades, as long as FanTastic Toss can absolutely make sure that the next upgrade starts the moment the previous one finishes. The left spot on this map is pretty difficult to position gateways. The structure of the map makes it kind of tough. +1 is now done. Protoss has a little bit of a ground. And here comes some Zerglings. It looks like, yeah, he will back off. A wise decision. And look at this. I think we see something at the bottom right, but I don't know what it is on the mini-map. Something orange. Meanwhile, as we can see, it's mostly a FanTastic Toss running around the map, chasing these stray Zerg units around. More and more Zerglings getting pumped out. The Adrenal upgrade will soon be done. I do see a Defiler Mound. That's going to be great. With Dark Swarm able to take out expansions which only have cannons defending them. I believe there's a drop ship that is harassing the Zerg at the bottom. Our +1 Carapace is now done for the Zerg, so there's kind of an even advantage here. Lurkers burrowing. There's no way that Protoss is going to be able to penetrate that unless he has perfect storms. What are you doing, Archon? And you just got too greedy, didn't you, Archon? You should have backed up. Our counterattack, though, over here with those Lings. He will have to cancel. I'm not sure if he will. There is a shuttle, though, at the bottom. Again, just keep note of that. Keep watching the mini-map. I don't think the observer spotted it yet, but it is harassing these drones. I assume it's a shuttle. We haven't gotten the shot of it at all yet. Now moving out, he's going to take out these few Lings. A lot of Lurkers, though, will force those Dragoons to back up. And because of that awkward positioning, the awkward shape of that main at the left spot of Katrina, he's going to make those gateways outside of the main. Defiler mound finished. When defilers get consumed, it's going to be very tough for Protoss, especially with Plague. Plague so powerful against Protoss. We may see our Protoss player get a Dark Archon and feedback to defilers. And unfortunately, that Templar did not get to use his Psionic Storm. Pretty much the only thing the Templar is good for. At some point in time, Zerg is going to attempt to secure the bottom two mains, and that's going to be a critical moment where Protoss starts moving out. Protoss is pretty much backed off and is playing the game pretty safe, waiting for the Zerg to then try to start an expansion, and then he will rush over there and take that expansion out before the Zerg can finish it. +2, I believe, is now finished. Protoss has a little bit of an advantage in this window of time until the Zerg's carapace for +2 finishes. And in fact, first Zerg is going to try to secure this expansion over here on the high ground. Those center expansions are very vulnerable to storms. Here comes FanTastic Toss, but walking over these lurkers. Storming. Oh, I don't think he's going to be able to break this lurker contain. Link's coming in from behind. I believe FanTastic Toss has way too many Templars. He should have at least a few Archons in there. There's rarely any moments you need 6 Templar unless your opponent's only making Hydralisks. And considering how much he's not storming with any of these Templars, I don't know what else to say. He should get an observer. Oh, a drop though over here in the main. 2 gateways taken out. A third one about to go down. Looks like another counterattack is going to happen at the top. Zergling's moving over there now. FanTastic Toss now going to attack at a different angle. Nice storms there. And I'm not sure exactly what Zerg has, but I do think it's a very high probability that we're going to see a surround. Zergling's coming in from all different sides, and there's just no Archon, so these Zerglings are going to be way overpowered, especially with an Adrenal upgrade. Taking this Protoss apart. I really don't see why FanTastic Toss is trying to take these expansions out directly. All he'd have to do is sit in the middle of the map and keep storming the drones that would be mining those resources. Get an observer maybe and put a Templar on a low ground with the rest of your army and then storm those drones. He doesn't actually have to rush in there and kill the hatchery. And I think this game is going to go to 8-15 pretty soon because it appears as though FanTastic Toss is completely falling apart, especially if he loses this expansion. Even Scorch want to get in on the action right now. We haven't even seen that many air units. There comes an observer, which is probably going to get eaten up by that Scorch. The Nexus has been taken out, and 8-15 is growing at a terrifying rate. I think this is a really smart move for 8-15 to continue dropping. As I said before, it's pretty popular for Zergs to utilize drop on this map to keep the Protoss from ever getting too far out and getting too much center control on the map. +3 is almost on the way, I'm sure. +1 armor for the Protoss as well. This expansion is pretty new. I don't know if he's going to use those drones right away that are coming out to mine resources, or if he'll use them to set up a perimeter of sunken colonies. Here comes FanTastic Toss, though, now taking out this expansion. FanTastic Toss finally starting to gain some ground in this match. Again, I think he has too many Templars. Considering his opponent is mostly using Zerglings, I think 2 Archons would be better than 5 Templars. Maybe just using 3 Templars. Especially since he has the mana upgrade. Here comes some more Zerglings taking out those. No, it lives. Well, I don't know if it lives. Gateways don't have feelings, but it is alive. It is not killed. Whatever. Ultralisk Mound Cavern is finished. and I would presume that the Zerg has a lot of SP and gas stored up, and that means we're going to see an incredible amount of Ultralists. It appears as though FanTastic Toss is somewhat ready for that. It has a lot of Zealots, but only one Archon. He hasn't been too consistent with getting enough Archons in his army. And, oh, man. Zealots. Okay, no, he did in fact make a lot of circuits there. So this is going to be tough for Protoss to take out. Protoss should be able to still remove it, but it's going to be a little bit of a battle that'll have to win. And of course, Zerg is now going to counterattack. Or is Zerg? No, Zerg is going to actually come up from behind. No, okay. Here are the Zerglings come now. Taking out this expansion, they could very easily rush up to the Nexus north of this as well. And wow, look at that 3 armor 2 attack. Here comes some lurkers burrowing. They're going to do a lot of damage to these probes too. More Templars. And this counterattack will prove to be very effective. There's just no way, I think, for Protoss to really entirely recover. I think he's going to, hopefully he'll keep 1 Templar at that location south of the expansion of the Zerg and just keep storming there. That would at least be something he could do. There's just too many Ultralists. Zerg now has Defilers, and Protoss has to get an expansion up. I think the main expansion has already been mined out, so I take it that we're going to see GG in a few seconds. Reavers are coming out for Protoss, but does it really matter? Another great plague. Softening up those Zealots. And unfortunately for FanTastic Toss, there's just he's just too far behind. There's just nothing else he can do. There's going to be waves and waves and waves of these Zerg units flooding into his base, and he will eventually be run over. Here comes some more now. Bear in mind the gateways in the main were taken out. Now the only gateways that are around are the ones up there, and it looks as though FanTastic Toss has been GG'd. Well done. What an exciting match that was. 8-15 coming out, making that look easy. I think FanTastic Toss's decision-making was really off that game. He should have first of all been storming the drones via the low ground location rather than attempting to come in here and wipe out those expansions. On the other hand, I also think he should have been, he just should have been warping more Archons. I think there's a moment where he had 7 Templar in his army, and I mean there was mostly Zerglings that were out there. You don't normally need more than 3 to 4 Templar, unless your opponent's only making Hydralisks or Guardians or something. I don't know. So right off the bat, 8-15's joined the game. That was just that was a lot of fun to cast. I think Zerg's counterattack methods were also very strong. We did see a lot of great drop usage and a lot of studying where the Protoss was headed, and then running around the other way, and then taking out the expanding Nexus before it could finish or before it could be secured with cannons. And that's one thing that can happen to you if you don't get a lot of Corsairs and try to push around the Overlords on the map and gain some type of map dominance. 2008.